All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And on this edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast, I will be having the privilege of being joined by Cal One the God. Cal, how are you doing?
Man,
How you doing, my man?
I'm good, William. Thank you for having me on 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. When you hit me early, you hit me last week. You was like, you wanted to do something.
Hmm.
And I was like, I hadn't done nothing in a while, a couple of weeks. And with the subject matter you talked to me about, it made me really, really think. So I spoke to a couple of dudes. So at the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to shout out three I talked to about physicality.
Hmm.
One was my man Greg G from over in Gold's Gym down here in Maryland, where I'm at. My
Okay.
dude, my big uncle Larry. You already know G how we get down. And Ken Do. He asked me about you because we got to talk about them Wimby Spurs. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Shout out to
Mhm.
Ken Do. What's up? What's up, big bro? Let's chop. What's good?
Listen, man, my thing is this: death, taxes, and Adam Silver taking a hands-off approach and bending over backwards to make the
Hmm.
players in the league
Hmm.
as well as the Players
Hmm.
Association happy. And of course, the latest indoctrination to this is what we saw last week with the whole LaMelo Ball Bam Adebayo
Oh my
situation.
God.
You know, I said it then, and I'll put it out here right now. If we're talking about this situation, because it came out like first of all, the refs screwed it up because we've seen them stop games before to review plays.
Fact.
They chose not to review it, and then after the game, it's like the NBA comes out and like, well, it should have been a flagrant one, and we missed on that, but
Right.
a flagrant one is two free throws and possession of the basketball.
Correct.
Miami lost that game by 1 point, even without
Right.
Bam. Okay, and I hear the narrative from some fans. I hear the narrative from some people in the media that well, they shouldn't have suspended him because he's a star. My thing is this,
Bar?
yeah, and my thing is this, man. You think about David Stern, and I've always said this about the late David Stern. The players didn't like him, but they respected him. And you look
Absolutely.
and you look
Agreed.
and you look at Adam Silver. The players like Adam Silver, but they don't respect him. My point is this:
Why do you think it is they don't respect them? I know
because
why.
because he tries to be because listen, he tries to be too much of their buddies.
Mhm.
And my thing is this: David Stern didn't care who you were. David Stern was going to sit you down. I always remember. I go back to the 1994 NBA playoffs, second round between the Knicks and the Bulls. All
That was
right.
crazy.
All right, and this is the Bulls without Michael Jordan. All right. Knicks win the first two games of that series at the Garden. They go to Chicago Stadium for game 3. Phil Jackson has always been a shrewd operator. Phil
Okay.
Jackson Phil Jackson puts JoJo English into the game. I think that might have been the first and last time JoJo English ever even played in the NBA game. All right. JoJo English gets into the game and immediately gets into a fight with Derek Harper. Okay.
Facts.
So both JoJo English and Derek Harper get thrown out of the game. And if you're the Bulls, you'll take that because JoJo English means nothing to your team in comparison to D Harper with the Knicks. Long
That's a
story
fact.
short, the Bulls were going to win that game. They started to get some momentum. They tied the series up. And what looked like a series that was going to be a breeze for the Knicks, they ended up having to go to 7 games. My point is this: David Stern didn't care how important that Derek Harper was to the Knicks. He didn't care that Derek Harper was a key piece for the Knicks' success that year.
Right. Correct.
He rules are rules. You go back to
Oh, and I got a bull hat on too, by the
right.
way.
You, you
Big
go
game.
you go back to '97 when the Knicks and the Heat had that big fight in Miami,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and like
Yes, sir.
basically the whole bench for the Knicks came off.
And
David Stern
everybody got they all
and,
went to jail.
and they all got suspended over that.
They all went to jail.
People are like, how could you do this? This is a playoffs, this, that, and third. But it goes back to the whole situation. If you stand up for nothing, you fall down for anything. I mean, you look at what's happened on Adam Silver's watch, and nothing's happened. You think about Draymond Green 10 years ago in the playoffs. He kicked Steven Adams in the groin when Steven Adams was playing for OKC. Nothing
What
happened.
happened?
What happened? And what does Draymond go on to continue to do? You have a guy with the antics like
Behave poorly.
right. You got a guy with the antics like Dylan Brooks because Dylan Brooks basically saw what Draymond did and he's like, hey, I'm gonna make it work for me as well. So you don't reprimand these guys. And it's like people, I know there's people out there trying to give LaMelo the benefit of the doubt. It's not the first time that he's had an incident like this with Bam. It's not the first time that he's had an incident like this, period. Okay. And again, 35K in fines to somebody who's making 30 or 40 million dollars a year is chump change. Okay? So it's like, what where's the lesson to be learned at that? I guarantee you, had David Stern still been the commissioner, David Stern sits you down for the next game. And let's say, okay, the Hornets go out there and lose that game to Orlando, which they did
Right.
anyway. But
Right.
if they lose the game and LaMelo's not there, of course, the narrative is going to be, well, they lost that game because they didn't have the best
He
player.
wasn't there. Right.
Right. And I know some people would have said, well, he should have been out there. And there would have been others who would have been like, you know what? Maybe he'll learn his lesson off of this. There's no lesson learned because I guarantee you, LaMelo and other players like him are going to continue to go out there and do stuff like this because Adam Silver does not hold the players responsible.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to go into my rant yet, but I got a rant to go into. But
Mm-hmm.
here's what I will tell you. Here's the difference between players. Skilled players don't usually go after other skilled players. The players that's kind of hard and kind of gritty, those are usually the players that go after skilled players.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that's kind of hard and kind of gritty. Usually you don't have skilled players going after skilled players. But from my time in locker rooms and in different situations, and I could be in a locker room, I could hear somebody say, you know what? I'm going to do this and this and this and do. I don't tell nobody don't do it or not do it. I mind my business as a player because
Mm-hmm.
I understand how it works. I don't advocate for it, but if you do it, you might get thrown out. It might affect our team. The other person might get hurt. They
Mm-hmm.
might all try to jump us and kill us.
Right.
Right? I've been through them type of things playing basketball in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So the average person that's playing ball now, they don't have that protective umbrella of you're not going to get hurt.
Right.
Right? So if me, and I'm going to use example with Melo and Bam, neither one of them don't come across to me as tough guys. And I think the NBA and Adam Silver wanted the Charlotte Hornets to win the game so they could be in the playoffs, which they're in now.
What
And
I
I
mean,
think,
I'm not. They didn't make it because like after that they
oh, they lost. Okay,
yeah
so
they
so
got
who's
blown
there?
they got blown
So
out
the
by Orlando.
Magic is in, right?
Right, they got blown out by
All right,
Orlando.
so excuse me. Right, they got blown out yesterday. My bad. My point is they wanted them to have another run. They really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get Charlotte in. All right. And if you want to call a play in the playoff, oh, they was in a playoff and they made a playoff.
Mm-hmm.
To my point, the NBA has, like, for years and years, as we watched, when they wanted to manipulate certain things, even with David Stern, they did.
Right.
We saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing. We was like, oh, word? Oh, so y'all really gonna do that? Go back to JoJo White. Go back to the Heat and the Knicks. We're like, oh, word? Y'all go back to Draymond Green. Everything you just said, it was a money grab. It's a reason why they want these people in.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam Silver, it's kind of tough for me to have like people that are commissioners or people that are like important places, or even down to the referees to an extent, being in important positions to call a game and make a shot and call a shot about what should happen because they never actually been involved.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Adam
No,
Silver, does he look like a basketball player?
no. Listen, Adam.
I'm
Listen,
not going to say what he looked like. That's
at,
what is what it is.
at the
He
end
looked
of the
like he looked like he played a video game or something. He doesn't come across as a dude. He looked like he could be a chemistry person, a scientist. He doesn't come across as a person that should be in charge of the NBA.
Listen, I
What is his
mean,
athletic background? Do you know anything about Adam Silver?
I don't, but I'll say this. I mean, Adam Silver is a fundraiser more than anything else because his job is to continue to hemorrhage cash for the owners, and of course, the owners, the team owners.
And that's what they want. When it comes down to the players and what happens, it's kind of tough for me to accept this or that from people that haven't really played the game or don't really know the physicality of what somebody's doing. Let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
We talked years and years ago about this, right? Just to jump over for a minute. You was telling me that you was playing rec league one time, right?
Hmm.
And you were being physical with someone, right?
Hmm.
What did they do?
Hey, listen, it was one of those where, I took matters into my hands, and it was one of those where like, um, we like he was getting a little bit, too physical, and it was one of those I handled it, and that was, and that was the end of that. It was like, it was all love, no punches were thrown, but I handled it physically, and
Right.
we never had a problem after
Again, and I bet you do felt it the next day because you're a very imposing figure.
that.
I will
Listen,
say that to anybody that's watching. William Martin is really the 300 pounds of sports knowledge, and he will be very nice to you.
listen,
So,
listen. I mean, it's one of those where like, okay, things changed on David Stern's watch, after the Malice at the Palace, because David Stern was a
that was
guy,
ill. That was
right,
ill too.
right. David Stern was a guy, he wasn't going to let you mess with his money. But, it's one of those where, like, naturally the game changed after that. Basically, you
It
didn't,
did. It did.
you like the league basically got rid of the enforcers and the goons and stuff. And, like, you're starting to see it come back slightly. But at the same time, like you said before about Bam and LaMelo, I'm not gonna sit up there and call them fake tough guys, but they're not tough guys, okay? And that's not
They're actually skilled players.
right, and that's not a slight at them, okay? They are who they are, but the thing is, you do have guys and like some guys in the league that do operate like fake tough guys, and the reason why they operate like fake tough guys is the fact that hey, nobody has been there to check that chin, because I think back to 1987. Okay,
Okay.
Pistons are playing the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's the first time that Isaiah's crew,
Oh, I know where you're going. I know where
right?
you're going.
It's the first time that Isaiah's crew had gotten to the conference finals. All right.
Okay.
So it's game four at the Silverdome, and Bill Laimbeer literally tackles Larry Bird. And Larry Bird was a guy who never met a fight that he was going to back down from. So naturally, him and
No, he was
Laimbeer,
straight.
right? Him and
He was straight.
Laimbeer, they were throwing blows. So of course, both of them get blown. I'll get thrown out of the game. If you're the Pistons, you'll gladly take that as far as a Bill Laimbeer for Larry Bird straight up ejection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
And
I saw that game.
right.
I'm listening.
So right after after the game, the Celtics were asked about, the Pistons, physicality, this, that, and the third. So then they basically said, you know what, we're gonna handle that. We'll be all right. Game five was at Boston Garden. In the first half, Bill Laimbeer went up for a
I
rebound.
saw that game too.
And as he went up for the rebound, when he came down, Robert Parrish karate chopped him in the throat and across the face
Yeah,
about
yeah, 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 yeah. That was ill.
about three or four
That was
times.
ill. That was ill.
But my point is this: nobody, as bad as the bad boys were, nobody stepped up to Robert Parrish and checked him. So my point is this: is like the Pistons did, and this is no slight on the Pistons, okay, from that era, but they
You know, they
did,
was tough. They
but
was tough.
they did what they did, like for the most part against teams that they knew, you know,
If I could punk you,
right. Now, they listen, did they have some fights? Absolutely. They had fights with
and
the
they
Sixers.
all everybody was shooting the five back then. So let's
Right.
keep it G.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it correlates with today's players because like the guys that are out there doing certain antics, this, that, and the third, they're doing it because they haven't gotten checked. I guarantee you, if somebody were to check them, we're not having this conversation. You take a Draymond Green as an example. Draymond is very calculated in who he goes after because we've never seen, or we never saw rather, Draymond go after a Boogie Cousins. You're not going to see a Draymond go after a Bobby Portis or like a Isaiah Stewart or somebody like that. Draymond's going to go after the Rudy Goberts of the world. Guys he knows who are not going to turn around and and check him. And there's other guys like that. Uh,
Wait, William. So to go
mhm,
back to what I said,
mhm,
for the G stuff that we see, when I say G time, that's basically his physical time. The
mhm,
G stuff we see, a lot of these dudes when they coming up from their countries or where they come from, they're not really seeing that. And as far as them playing ball from when they're young.
no,
Now you got guys like say Luca. They played against guys that was old guys from the time they was 15 to 16.
right,
They was getting beat up.
right.
All
But
right. So certain dudes from certain places, they
mhm,
know what it is because they went through it.
right,
I'm a guy that's went through that on a small, minuscule level,
mhm,
but it's big enough where I can talk about it. Because it seems like taking care of yourself and knowing how you gotta come out and feel like even though you think it could be all right like a regular game, I never approached no game like it was a regular game. Let me
mhm,
ask you this about being an athlete and especially being a football player. When you came out to play football, did you have a cup on?
yeah,
Did you have your thigh pads on?
yeah,
Did you have your shoulder pads on?
absolutely,
Did you have your rib pads on?
yeah,
Did you have your helmet on?
yeah,
So what the hell is we talking about here with these folk? So I'm gonna go back to Dwayne Wade. This ain't even my rant. My rant is a little deeper. This ain't even my rant. Dwayne Wade, I respect him as one of the top two guards that ever played the game. But what I respect him about the most is especially like when he was playing, I had stopped playing. But while years before that, I put the pads on my legs. I
mhm,
didn't do the rib cage because I couldn't spin with the rib cage.
right,
But I put the thigh pads on. I put my ankle braces on. I taped my ankles every single time I played, no matter where I played.
mhm,
So because you're gonna get hit, you're gonna hit the floor.
mhm,
So bam, and these new players, I saw two Knick players yesterday get hit in the groin.
right,
That would be Jalen Brunson, and that would be Cat. This was like damn near back to back play.
mhm.
So that tells me, do you have something covering your meat piece? So we know as athletes, I played all three sports, and in all three sports, I had a cup in all three sports, even street, college, whatever. I had a cup on.
Mhm.
So what would that tell you as a person, as an individual that's going into battle? You don't know what they're gonna do, but they're coming at you, you're gonna get hit. Would you be prepared?
Listen, you got to be prepared. But I mean, the thing is with that, I have, heard, some pro athletes talk about really, not, not choosing to wear that stuff. But I mean, nonetheless, it's just one of those where like, I mean, you look at things, the game has changed, the preparation has changed, and like the approach, has changed. And like honestly, for me, like I said before at the top, it starts with how, Adam Silver, conducts things. And the biggest thing for me is just like I said before, the players don't respect him. We have a situation now where you've got to have a 65 game rule in order to be eligible for postseason awards. And as a part of that eligibility, we saw some guys this year who just missed the 65 game requirement, and some of those guys appealed and had their appeals won. So now, in spite of the fact that they haven't played the minimum required for 65
Yeah.
games, they're still eligible. And my thing is this again,
Right.
when you do things like this, you set a bad precedent because now that you've done it once,
It's a flip flop, God. It's a
right,
flip flop.
right. And that's my point. A guy like David Stern, like David Stern didn't have to have a 65 game rule. But if David Stern had told you you got to play in at least 65 games, David Stern wouldn't have cared if you missed a game because you stubbed a toe, you missed your flight, your car broke down, whatever. If you didn't play in at least 65 games, you weren't eligible. And I always, going back to the old days of
Right,
David Stern
right,
when he was just getting his feet wet. You go back to
right.
the 1980s, okay? There were a lot of drug issues in the NBA at that time. And
Absolutely. Everybody's getting high.
it wasn't just the NBA. It was drug
Right.
issues across
Everybody, the
across
world was getting high
right. Okay.
based on, wait. Let me just say this. For you politicals, it was the Iran Contra scandal. I'm listening.
But the thing was, it was just like you go back to Michael Ray Richardson, and
Yes.
there were
He was
some people,
nice. He was
right,
nice, bro.
and there were some people who felt that David Stern was too hard on Michael Ray Richardson because a lot of people expected, okay, even though that Michael Ray had failed the drug test for the third time, that there was going to be an opportunity for him to get back into the NBA. David Stern said, "Listen, three strikes and you're out," and he closed the door on Michael Ray. And years later, Michael Ray came up to him and said, "Thank you because you saved my life." But on top of that, you think about the example that David Stern used or to make out on Michael Ray because had David Stern not have done that, other guys would have been like, hey, you know what? I could still, fail a drug test and I'll still be around.
But have a chance, right?
Right.
You have a
David
chance.
David Stern put his foot down and David Stern showed you who's boss. Okay. It's the same thing with the All-Star game right now. You look at all of these gimmicks that Adam Silver has had to do,
That shit was trash.
in order to
Super
make
trash. That
to,
shit
to,
trash.
to make the All-Star game somewhat watchable. And it's one of those where this year was the first time in a very long time that the All-Star game was competitive. And it's like there's been like several years in the past where like, the players told Adam Silver, they were going to play harder, this, that, and the third.
Right.
And you could see that he was vehemently annoyed when he gave out the All-Star game MVP award. I mean, like you got guys putting up video game numbers when the final
Fact,
score is like
fact,
180 to 174 for a 48-minute game,
fact.
and it's disappointing. So I'm just saying, like I said before, the players do not respect Adam Silver. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Excuse me.
Hmm.
I respect that, but let's go back to, excuse me, the physicality of the game.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know what nobody else did, but depending on where you from, you learn about physicality when you're young. And it's threat assessment depending on where you from, but all the threats is different. But when you get on the court, it's still threat assessment. You sitting there, you looking like, I know he gonna hurt me, 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 he gonna hurt me. They're not gonna go out their way to hurt me. Well, some of them is, but they gonna still hurt me no matter what. I'm still gonna get hit. I'm still gonna be. I'm gonna hit the ground. So again, going back to Dwayne Wade, you got the compression pants on with the pads in them. You got this. Me, I like two elbow pads because when you going up and down screens and you catching picks, that shit shake your whole body and you feel that shit in your chest like the next day. And
Hmm.
that's a legit play. It's
Hmm.
legit. And this is in the street. So when you on certain type of time and you don't see that pick coming, that should have knocked you out. But you learn this from early and
Hmm.
you learn how to move around all that. You learn what to do. So it to me, all right, a lot of the guys from overseas, they know about certain things about basketball playing that the guys that's here maybe don't know.
Hmm.
Some of the guys that's here, what they should act like they know is about the physicality, but because it's different time, different era, nobody really beat their ass and showed them this is what's gonna happen if you go around and you with this dude. So for me, I'm looking at Melo. Let's go back to Melo and Bam. If I was Bam when I got up, whether my knee hurt or not, I would have, I would have, I would have went after Duke. You already know you're not going to the playoff. It's over. You take your 1-2 game suspension for the next day, which I believe Adam Silver would do. But I would get at his ass. I'm not letting you get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's you like certain things you do in basketball and certain things you don't do. Like a straight trip. Yo, I done been clothesline. I'll take the clothesline before I take a trip. I done been low bridge. I'll take the low bridge before a trip. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because listen, it's not a basketball play, and
No, none of them are. Not just named this.
yeah, and the thing, going back to the LaMelo and Bam incident, you know, you had people who were more upset about comments that some people on TV made.
Comment.
Yeah,
That man got hurt and it cost him a playoff series.
no, but I'm saying, some like you got more
No,
people.
I understand where you're coming from, but listen, it wasn't about that. Just to flip it, I'm gonna let you say what you got to say. They
Mhm.
mad because he scored the 83. Now I'm listening.
No, but it's just like, you got people out there who are more upset about some of the comments by like some of the people made on TV about, LaMelo as opposed to the actual incident.
What happened? What we saw?
Right.
They
And
trying to. It's like watching LeBron James. They're trying to make us act like we didn't see he was trash yesterday.
no,
Trash.
you know, so it's one of those again, things like that you have to nip in the bud. And unfortunately, for Adam Silver, he's not done that. I mean, you look it like from so many aspects. It's like you think about David Stern and
Right.
going back to the Malice at the Palace, which is now more than 20 years ago. No, it's more than.
Mhm.
After that, David Stern changed things because he changed the
He
requirements
did. He did. He did. He
because
did. I'll
as
give you that.
as far as
Definitely. He
as
did.
far as what players were allowed.
Behavior.
Not
Your
only
your behavior.
but not only that, there's what they were able to wear on the sidelines. And like because before that, before David Stern's edict, it was up to the teams. The teams allowed like set the tone as far as what you could or could not wear.
The
On
Allen Iverson.
right. And the thing was, it was like before that, some teams they wanted their guys to wear suits. Some guys it was casual. David Stern he kind of changed that. All right, and then Adam Silver once he came in, he relaxed things. And don't get me wrong, just because, and I'm not saying this to try to sound like a hypocrite. Some people might think that I am, but no, just because you put a suit and tie on doesn't mean that what you're gonna go out there and be a professional. All right, but at the same
You're
time,
not a nice guy because you got a suit and tie on. You're not
right,
a nice guy.
right.
Right.
I mean, some of these dudes like nowadays, I'm not a suit and tie guy myself because my
I
job,
love it.
because I'm not required to. Okay,
Right.
if I had a job where I had to wear a suit and tie, okay, different story. And I've been in situations like that before. But my point is this: it's like you got some dudes that straight up like you don't know if they're a fan or like if they're on the team, it's like they just rolled out of bed, just threw on whatever, and just like showed up to the
That's
game.
unacceptable.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And like these are the things that I'm talking about is that he's just allowed it to be just like too
It's out
relaxing.
of control.
Right, and again, that's why I said the players don't respect him. Man. They really don't.
You know what I'm gonna do, William? I'm gonna because I got a lot of friend and folk that's actually playing in the league and stuff like that. And I don't want to interview none of these people. I'm just gonna ask a question to a friend and they could ask a folk about the NBA dress code right now, currently.
Hmm.
A couple of my dudes, their kids is playing in the league. You know what I'm saying, right now. And I'm gonna ask them ask your kid what y'all think about the NBA dress code in particular. That's one question I'm gonna ask. The second question I'm gonna ask is physicality. Because it's like, how can you go into a game knowing that you playing against Draymond Green, for example, you know what he do.
Hmm.
Me, I know that they're looking for the highest, lowest common denominator.
Hmm.
So if I was a person playing against the Knicks, the first person I would hit is Cat.
Mm,
You understand that, right?
right.
And you know why, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I watched Cat against Atlanta yesterday act like he was going ooh. I'm like, oh, word?
But
Okay.
but again, I mean,
Okay.
to that point, it's just a narrative. It's like certain things that are just simply, allowed in today's game. But again, like for me, I think the biggest thing is for a lot of different scenarios, you know, the commissioner's got to set the tone. And I know that he works for the owners, just that and the third, but the commissioner has got to set the tone. And like not on the same level or platform or track, if you
It's a
will.
money grab, bro. It's a money
It's
grab.
it's a
It's a
money
money
grab.
grab.
It's a money grab, yes, but and I get it that people pay to see stars, but that doesn't give your stars the right to just do whatever they want,
Poor behavior.
right? Because
Right.
they're
To have poor behavior.
because they're stars. Because at the end of the day, you have to you got to sit down. It's kind of like if your star player fails a test and he's not eligible for the team, then what are we teaching this guy about taking his schoolwork seriously if you still allow him to play?
You
And
know
it's
about that.
right, and we know there are people in this world that do that. And it's just like in this situation, just because somebody is a star player does not mean that that person, uh, if they did
You,
something
you
wrong.
know, William, I don't think it's about the star player as much. I think that counts.
Hmm.
I think it's more about who they want to see in Vigo for ratings.
So my final question to you is this before we start to wrap up. How would you rate Adam Silver as a commissioner
10.
out of 10?
10 out of 10. You know why? Because it's about money. From what I've seen, he seems to be down to earth. So it's not nothing personal with his behavior. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if he knows basketball, even though he's been around it behind David Stern all those years.
Hmm.
But I'll say this again, those guys ain't played a lick of basketball in their life. But I'm going to research that. But I don't actually believe that. Or I
Hmm.
don't know if there's any sport they actually play.
Hmm.
So you do math on that. And so like it's like when a dude you come across the line, you come across the lane and a dude clothesline you, you know how you feel.
Right.
They don't know how you feel. They
Right.
don't know because they never played it and got clothesline.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Right.
and they don't know what it means to you to be out, you throw this, and then your team suffers because they need you to be able to be a player to be able to win. So, those things, those non calls, those non disciplinary actions, it affects a series,
Hmm.
it affects a season,
Yeah.
it affects stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I'll say this. Listen, Adam Silver, like David Stern, like any other commissioner in sports, it's all about, generating the top dollar for your sport.
Yes, sir.
And of course, the people who you work for, the team owners. And I think, David Stern, he knew how to market his stars. Okay. Make no mistake about it. And at the same time, he knew how to do things in the best interest of his league. But at the same time, he was not afraid to hold people accountable. To me, I think that's the biggest difference. Adam Silver.
It was with David Stern, it was kind of ill though, because I've seen him put his foot down in certain situations, and I've seen him go left and leave it to the refs.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard for me to say because the refs is on the court with the players.
Well,
So
yeah.
you sitting there and you watching it, and the refs know what they supposed to do. I'm just curious to know that time frame of 30, 40 seconds, that minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes between where they calling somebody and saying, look, make this call. We want to make this series last longer. I don't know because I'm thinking everything is a money grab, even back when.
Listen, I mean,
I don't know.
my thing with David Stern is like he always operated, in what was the best interest of the league. And don't get me wrong.
He did. He
Adam,
did. And then even in Europe, because he opened up Europe to the NBA.
right. And
Right.
and a lot of that started with the Dream Team,
It
back from
did.
back from '92. But the thing is with Adam Silver, Adam Silver is about expanding the game globally as well. And he's brought in a lot of money for the league. My only thing is, like I said, from the disciplinary aspect, and you've
I
got
agree. I agree.
and it's to the point now, unfortunately for him, even if he tried to become Dean Wormer all of a sudden from Animal
Okay.
House, it would
Okay.
not.
I know
Listen,
what that is.
listen. It would not work, and the reason why it wouldn't work is because you've been too hands off. You've been too lax with things.
You let everything rock. You let it
Right,
rock out.
right, and it's easier to go from this and open it up a little bit as opposed to be like this and then try to rule with an iron fist. And that was the thing. David Stern ruled with an iron fist from the word go. And, because of that, the players fell in line regardless of how they felt about it.
That's
There's not
true. That's
there,
true. That's
there,
true.
there's never been an iron fist with Adam Silver. And, you don't hope for it, but at some point, there's going to be a scenario where, you know, you're going to have to put your foot down. But at this point, to me, I feel like you've let things get out of control. It's
It's
like,
out of control.
listen, we always had,
You got to make the right call because these things affect people money. It affects the franchises as far as having fans in the seats to come to the playoff games when the call didn't go the right way.
Mhm. No,
Something as simple as that. How many times have we seen that in a football game?
yeah,
Forget basketball,
yeah,
just a call, but without the physicality with the NBA. Now you're dealing with the physicality of what should be called and what's not being called.
right,
And so this affects all the sports underneath it.
right.
Remember that.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is, like that's what I'm saying with Adam Silver. It's just like, Um, he's been great for the league in certain aspects, but I'm just talking about the fact that, certain things the players, they simply don't respect him. And I really think he missed a golden opportunity like he's missed golden opportunities in the past. You sit LaMelo Ball down for that game.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
And
But
then and he's not the only one in a situation like that because I think back to MLB about 10 years ago, with the Chase Utley, Ruben Tejada play with the
oh,
Dodgers,
that shit was crazy.
with the Dodgers and Mets in the
Ah,
playoffs. And
now we
then,
talking baseball.
Joe Torre, who was in charge of discipline at that time for for Major League Baseball, they decided, okay, we're going to suspend Utley for the following season, but not during the
That shit
playoffs.
was whack.
Right, right. And it's
That
like
was whack.
and the thing is like when you do stuff like that, you set a bad precedent. I've seen situations in the National Hockey League where a player got injured, in the playoffs because of a dirty play by an opponent, and that opponent got sat down. Okay. So the bottom line is it doesn't matter if it's the first game, the last game of the season, preseason game, playoff game. If you do something wrong, you gotta listen, there needs to be
Like a,
discipline.
like tripping in NHL.
Yeah.
That's kind of like they take that kind of like serious.
Listen,
Like a
listen.
real tripping, like tripping in
Oh,
NHL.
you going to the penalty box, man. There's
See,
no way.
you already know your drill. You going over there, they're gonna throw the hats on you and all like you in the penalty box.
Yeah.
Am I lying?
Nah. So that so
Nah,
that
you get G'd up. They G you up for yo. But that could actually y'all going 90 miles an hour up and down the ice with a puck or not a puck, and you hitting the board or you hitting a player.
hmm
That's not cool.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like with Silver, as far as the discipline goes, my final thought, he's just out to lunch on it, man. That's it, man. But Cal, before we sign off, man, like I always say, man, thank you again for chiming in. But is there anybody that you want to take this time out and show some love to, my man?
Yo, everybody watched 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Like, yesterday, it happened. I was coming home and I wanted to know what's happening with this Dexter dude from the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And right on cue, I open up my YouTube, and there is William Martin talking about dude got traded to the Cincinnati Bengals for a first round pick, a
Mm-hmm.
number 5 pick at that.
Number
I
10.
said,
Number 10.
yes. Excuse me, number 10? Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. I was like, get him out of here. And so if anybody want to hear any real like sports information without all the BS and people like coming on, they showing you, look, this what this person said, tune in to William Martin and 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast, my brother. Peace and thank you for having me on.
Listen, thanks for being here, man. Thank you for the support, man. And for everybody, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, as always, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. You give me that follow, I'll do the same in return. And that also goes to
You
Instagram, where
back.
you can check me out at
That's
300
right.
Pounds of Sports Knowledge. You can find myself and Cal on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365.
Yo,
And as
we
far
on
as I'm
there.
and as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But for Cal Wonder God, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off and saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here
Peace, big bro. Thank
on
you.
YouTube. Be well,
You're
everybody.
ready.